Good morning, artists. I am here with a video to teach you a fun and quick kind of way to create an animal. Now, I want you right now to think about an animal that has 4 legs. And when you think of the animal that has 4 legs, then I want you to think about what shape are the ears. Does it have a tail? Okay. You're going to get a piece of clay like this. This animal will be small, so we're going to start by ripping this clay into 3 parts. They can be somewhat different, but you want to try to make them, even as possible. Okay, so now I have 3 parts. I'm going to take 2 of them in my hands, like this, in both hands, and then I'm going to squeeze them and kind of turn it and squeeze it. You're trying to create like this hot dog shape, which is called a coil. See how they're not getting too skinny, and they're also not getting much longer than the width of my palm. That's good. So my thumbs are going to hold here to stop them from getting too long, and I'm just squeezing. And now that I have this sort of shape, I'm going to use the palm of my hand on my desk to roll gently. I'm not pressing hard. You're not trying to make these long and skinny. You're just trying to smooth out all the bumps. You see the difference? Okay? So do that to both of them. Just a little bit. Give them a nice roll. And then we're going to tap the ends. So I'm going to go tap, tap, tap. Turn it over. Tap, tap, tap. See how it makes it flat? You could spend a little bit of time smoothing any lines or cracks if you want to, but don't spend too long doing this. The more we touch clay, the drier the clay gets. And when clay is dry, it's hard to work with. It starts to crack and crumble. So you don't want to touch your clay too much. We're not aiming for perfection here. We are just aiming to get 2 coils that are kind of chubby, like the width of 2 fingers, and not too long. Now you're going to bend these to make the letter U. If one of your coils is longer, this one might have been a little bit longer, that'll be the bottom. And then I'm going to stack this one on top. And I can bring these closer together. Do you see how this is going to start to look like an animal that is sitting down? Whenever you attach 2 pieces of clay together, you have to follow these steps. Score, slip, stick, smooth. To score, that means you scratch. You can use any tool that has a point, and you have to scratch both parts that are going to be stuck together like this. After you have scored, now you're going to add slip. Slip is like muddy clay, and it acts like glue. So you're going to put some slip on both parts, not too much, but enough. Then you're going to stick them together, and when you do that, you're going to give them a little wiggle. I put them together and you press them. Give them a little wiggle, okay? Now they're stuck together, and now you're going to smooth it. So see how there's some of this slip is kind of like gushing out? You're going to take your finger and smooth it. And see how there's some cracks here? The slip can actually help smooth those cracks too while you're at it. Now this is the back of the animal, so I'm going to blend these 2 coils together by dragging some of the clay up and down just to make that seam where they touched disappear. Then you can smooth that out a little bit, and that is really well attached, right? You can get your little pinky in here, try to smooth some of that out, and then just push those hands together, okay? All right, the next step is going to be to find that extra clay that you had. Now this is going to be for the head. I need to rip off a little bit so that I have some clay for ears and a tail. We are not worrying about eyes right now. So I'm going to roll this one into a ball. Does not have to be a perfect ball. Just has to be roundish. And if your animal is like a horse or a unicorn or an animal that has like a longer snout like a fox, you can kind of pinch to pull this part forward a little bit. Everything we do with clay has to be done gently, a little at a time, because if you're too strong or forceful, you might end up ripping or overextending the clay. Okay? All right. This will be a fox. So there's the head shape, right? And if you want to just keep it round, that's totally fine too. When I put this on here, right now, this will stick. But when this dries, if I didn't scratch it and slip it, it's going to fall right off. So don't forget these steps. Even if it seems like it's sticking, trust me when I tell you, it will not stay on if you don't do the scoring and slipping and sticking and smoothing. So I'm going to stick it on now, give it a little wiggle, kind of really blend those together. I'm not going to blend right here. I don't mind that line to show that it's separated, the head from the body. That's okay with me. Now I'm going to rip this, and I'm going to rip it in half again so that I can make 2 ears. Now, you can roll, if you're doing like a bunny or an animal with long ears, you can roll and then press it flat, pat, 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 and then add it on like that. If you want your ears to be pointed and wider, I'm pinching the tip and then just trying to sculpt to make it look pointy. That's going to be one of my fox's ears. And I'm going to do that again. If you're making something like a triangle, I like to start with a ball instead of a coil, because then you can go like this, and that's pretty easy. And then you just turn it on its side and go pat, pat, pat. Cute. Okay. I will do the tail, and I just ripped this little tiny piece off. If you really want to get a nose like that, you could. But don't worry about the eyes. I'm going to actually take the nose off. We will be adding paint to these, and we can use paint pens to draw in little tiny details. A fox has a pretty thick, fluffy tail. So even if your animal has a very long, skinny tail, I'm going to just suggest you make this animal have wide, thicker parts, because anything that is skinny will potentially break. So in order to avoid that from happening, 2 things: make them a little wider, and also, instead of having it stick out like this, my suggestion is to kind of have it coming up on the back, sort of like that. Okay? And all of these things that I've done, even though they're teeny tiny, they need to have these steps for attaching clay. Score, slip, stick, and smooth. So right here at the base, I can kind of rub to blend this tail a little bit into the body. And then I could smooth the slip, and I could use the slip to kind of blend out those cracks. Okay. Your goal is to get this done. You have today in the art room to do it. If you're working at home and watching this video at home, then of course take your time. But if you're in school with me, there is one art class to get this done. So follow these steps and don't worry about making things perfect. That's where people get stuck, trying to make things perfect when they don't have to be. If you're in the building with me, you're going to, if you're in the classroom, we are going to fire these as soon as they are dry enough to go in the kiln, and then the next time you come to art room, you will be adding all the details. So this is a goal by the end of art today. If there is extra time, you could do things like this. You could use a tool to press in little paws. This is a circle if you wanted to make like a bear or an animal that had paws. You could do that. A fox doesn't, I don't know that a fox really has those round shapes, so I'm using this tool to kind of make nails instead on the feet. And then if the hands are here, I could press on the tops to make it look like hands. And if you have a lot of time, you could add a little texture. But this is for people who finish really quickly in the art room. This is not the expectation. The hope and the goal is that you have an animal that all the shapes are attached really well. This is just extra cool if you have the time. But if you don't worry, because you can add texture with paint and lines later. All right. Again, no eyes on these animals, okay? All right, have fun and come back for video 2 if you want to. Bye.